Would you like to increase your English fluency and be able to think in English? Would you like to be able to stop translating in your head and communicate faster? Welcome to Jen's Jyugyou. My name is Jen, and today I'm going to give you 8 special tips that will help you to become a more fluent English speaker by thinking in English. When you are trying to really advance your English skills, it's very, very important that you be able to think in English. If you are always translating everything, it takes longer for you to communicate and you will never truly become fluent in English. The 8 tips that I'm going to share with you today are all things that I have tried myself when I was trying to improve my Japanese skills. Most of these tips worked really well for me in my own studies, so I hope that they will also be able to assist you in your English learning goals. My first tip for you today is to talk to yourself in English. This may sound like it's a really, really silly idea to you, but it's very, very effective. So what I mean by this is walk around your house and just talk about what you are doing in English. Even if your grammar isn't perfect, it doesn't matter because the idea behind doing this is to train your brain to get used to thinking in English. When I was trying to study Japanese, sometimes I would walk around my apartment by myself and speak to myself in Japanese. 今お腹空いた。何が食べたいかな。これなんか冷蔵庫は何がいる。何が入ってる。So even though my Japanese wasn't correct, I'm speaking to myself. Oh, I'm really hungry. What should I eat? Where is the fridge? I wonder what's in the fridge. Right? So just speaking to yourself is good to help train your brain to think in English. When you're in your house, practice speaking to yourself out loud, actually saying the words. You can also try speaking to yourself by just consciously thinking about things in English. So if you are commuting to work on a busy train, for example, you could sit and watch the other passengers and think to yourself, oh, that man over there is wearing a black hat. That woman looks really, really cold. Maybe she should also get a hat. Just thinking about that in English, training your mind to think about it in English consciously will help you to start to do it subconsciously. One point I want to mention about talking to yourself in English is that you're just talking to yourself. So if you don't know a word for something in English, it doesn't matter. Don't stop to look it up in a dictionary. Just keep going and maybe make a note. Oh yeah, I don't remember what that thing is in English. Right? The point is just to train your mind to be thinking in English. Speak out loud, speak quietly in your mind, practice. My second tip is kind of connected to the first one, and it is to just practice saying the names of things that you see. It's a great vocabulary building exercise to take some sticky notes or post-it notes and put them on things around your apartment. Anywhere, on everything. And then every time you see the sticky note, you see the name of the item written in English. By doing this, it will train your brain to remember these English item names. When I lived in Japan, I had sticky notes all over my apartment labeling everything so that I could get used to seeing the names of things in Japanese, improve my vocabulary, but also my ability to think in Japanese. So please try doing this in English. Write as many sticky notes as you need, and then every time you see one, you will remember what that item is. My third tip to help you think in English is also a good way to practice your vocabulary and grammar, but also an excellent way to train your brain to think in English. And that is to keep an English diary. So when I was studying Japanese, this is actually a Japanese diary that I wrote about what was happening in my daily life, my thoughts, who I met, things like that. What did I eat, for example? right? So practice writing down those things in a diary so that you can get used to processing your thoughts and keeping a record of what you've done in English. This is a great idea for a couple reasons. As I mentioned, it helps you think about your grammar and vocabulary, possibly even spelling, but it also helps you to reflect on your life in English. And then if you do similar activities again or eat similar foods again and so on, it'll be easier for you to think about the experience in English. My fourth tip for you is to stop using a bilingual dictionary. If you are constantly translating everything from your native language to English and from English to your native language, you will never improve your English skills to the point of becoming fluent. When you are a beginner level student, it's very important for you to be able to translate, to gain meaning in your own language. Because as adults, we learn language different than the way children do. But once you have a lot of vocabulary and once you've gone beyond the beginner level of English, put away the bilingual dictionary. This Japanese-English, English-Japanese dictionary is not going to help me to become fluent in Japanese. And it wouldn't help you to become fluent in English if you were Japanese. The best thing you can do when you hear a new word that you don't understand the meaning of, or you see a new word that you don't know, is step 1, ask somebody to explain what it means in English, or look it up in an English dictionary. An English dictionary will give you other words that have similar meanings, almost like a thesaurus, and will be able to explain the meaning in English, so you're still thinking in English. Also, something that I found very helpful when I was studying is that if somebody mentions a word to you and you're not sure what it is, look it up on Google Images. Then you can see a picture of that item. You don't have to worry about translating it into your own language. You can just, this is the English word, this is what the picture is, I have learned a new English word. Now, when I've mentioned this tip to some of my other students, they get a bit concerned. What if there is a word that I know in my own language, but I can't find the meaning of the word in English? I need to use a bilingual dictionary, right? Wrong. What you can do is explain the word in English. Maybe you have forgotten the word for subway, but you want to explain to your friends that, oh, I'm sorry I'm late, there was a delay with the subway. What you could say if you don't remember the word subway is it's kind of like a train and you sit on the train underground and it stops at different places. And then your friends will probably say, oh, you mean the subway? Ah, yes, the subway. So if you don't know a word, explain the word in English. And then when your friends who you're talking to tell you the meaning of the word, ah, yes, that's what I meant. How do you spell it? So you can remember the English word. Number 5, practice listening to a little bit of English every single day. So listen to things like English news, or English podcasts. You can listen to it in the background as you brush your teeth. Listening to English music is great too, but listening to people actually speaking English, even if it's just in the background, your mind will start to hear and pick up on speaking patterns or maybe certain vocabulary words you suddenly notice people are saying. So just making a habit of doing a little bit of English listening every day. Even if you're not actively listening and focusing on every single word that the speakers are saying, at least having the English audio will help you to start thinking in English. Tip number 6 is to do a little bit of English reading every single day. And by a little bit, I don't mean, oh, I read one text message from my friend in English, done. No, I mean spend a good 5-10 minutes or so each day just reading something in English. Okay? You could read a couple pages of a book, you could read a blog or a website in English, things like that. Just read a little bit every day to help your brain think in English. Also connected to English reading, I think one thing that everybody uses every single day is their cell phones. So if you're really trying to improve your English, set your settings on your phone to English. Change your phone's settings and your laptop settings to English, because you're naturally seeing your phone and probably your laptop every single day. So just having that little bit of extra English that's just there for you all the time will also help your brain to start thinking in English more. Tip number 7, to help improve your English fluency and to help you think in English. If you just always have input, and you don't have enough output, your English skills still won't improve. So if you're writing a diary or journal, great, that is having some kind of output. But it's also important for you to practice speaking, because when you are having a conversation with someone in English, you need to be able to think faster in English, which means that you need to practice speaking more in English so that you can get faster and think faster. Ideally, if you have the time and the money, I would highly recommend going to an English-speaking country and staying with native speakers, making some native speaker friends or contacts in that country so that you are completely surrounded by English, and then your English skills will improve greatly. Most people, I understand, may not have the time and or money to be able to do this. However, we have the internet. So you can easily find websites to find conversation partners in English. Or even sometimes in different cities around the world, there are meetups where people want to practice their English skills. So if you can find an English learning partner and practice speaking English together, that's super. If you can find a native English speaker to become friends with to practice your English speaking, even better. But make sure that you are somehow finding and giving yourself the opportunity to actually practice speaking in English. This will help your English thinking skills to also improve. And finally, tip number 8. This is the most important tip that I'm going to give you for improving your English fluency, improving your English thinking, and improving your English confidence. Please have confidence. English is not an easy language, so if you make mistakes, oh well, you made mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Even some native speakers are not perfect. So tip number 8 is, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Don't worry about making mistakes. Making mistakes is part of the natural process of learning how to do anything. If you are constantly worrying about making mistakes and you're too afraid to speak or too afraid to write until you're absolutely sure that everything is perfect, then you're not going to improve. You're not going to become more fluent. Make mistakes, learn from your mistakes, and just enjoy English. Enjoy English communication. All right, so those have been my personal 8 tips for how you can improve your English fluency and think like a native speaker in English. Practice makes perfect though, so don't forget that it will take time. You're not going to become a fluent native speaker overnight. So take your time, relax, enjoy, and please follow these 8 tips as best you can, and your English will improve. And now it's time for Question of the Day. Today's question is, which one of these tips are you going to start doing right away? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it useful, please let me know by subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and giving this video a thumbs up. Good luck with your English studies, and I hope to see you in the next lesson.